You've seen the Demogorgon. You've seen the Demobat. You've definitely been traumatized by Pennywise. But you've never seen what happens when I take all three and redesign them as Minecraft mobs. Today, I'm turning these horror icons into pixelated nightmares. And I'm using Blockbench. I used a Enderman as the base model for my Demogorgon. I started by adding the 5 petal-like jaws that open outwards one by one. They sort of remind me of Venus flycatchers.
No. Wait.
My ass is so chaotic, I jumped right into texture painting even without finishing my entire model. I created a brand new texture and added bone white teeth lining the inside of every petal. Tiny details, but they really sell what makes the Demogorgon such an awesome monster. Each petal needed that raw red flesh tone. I also highlighted the inner edges with darker shades of red to make it look like torn muscle mushed and squished together, because in the show that shit looks nasty. I went with a mixture of darker and lighter browns to match that dried out Demogorgon skin. I texture painted the darker base first, then sprinkled in lighter pixels to break up the flat spots, just giving it that rough lived-in look, like it's been roaming around the upside down with zero skincare routine. And once everything blended together, the head finally stopped looking like a plain cube and started looking like, yeah, this thing probably crawls out of walls uninvited. I made a sketch of what I wanted the body to look like, so I had some idea where I was going with this monster. After my chaotic era, I finally started modeling the rest of the body. I kept things simple, just blocking out the main form and tightening the silhouette so it lines up with the head. I pulled in a few areas to give it some structure, but nothing too dramatic. I wasn't aiming for crazy detail, just enough shaping so the proportions actually look like a blocky version of the Demogorgon. Once everything finally clicked, I was really happy with how it turned out. I started painting again. I still use the same crunchy cookie colors at the chest area. I placed the light and dark browns a little more carefully this time to give it some structure. Once that part started looking decent, I moved on to the rest of the body and just followed the same pattern. Keep it rough, keep it uneven, and that's how you get a decent Minecraft mob. I did rearrange the petal-like thingies at a Demogorgon's face so it looked a lot more like its Stranger Things counterpart. And that really seemed to do the trick, I'm not gonna lie. I gave the Demogorgon some long gnarly ass fingers with claws to match because it wouldn't be the same creature without them. At the last minute though, I thought it needed something that gave it more personality. Something that said I've literally ruined people's lives before. So I added some blood, and honestly, those tiny bits of red pulled everything together. In the end, this is how the Demogorgon turned out, and I think I did pretty great for someone who hasn't used the software that much. Now let's move on to the Demobat. It's the second monster I did from Stranger Things, and I used a Ender Dragon as my base model because why start from scratch when I have a perfectly good dragon to butcher? I know, I always choose the most chaotic places to start off my designs. I got rid of everything that I didn't need. The legs, all the chunks that I think didn't quite match what I was going for, including the spines. I made the main body shorter and slimmed the torso down so that it would look more in line with the Demobat's anatomy from Stranger Things. I also had to turn the dragon's tail into tendrils, which is one of the most important aspects of the creature. It started to look like the Ender Dragon wasn't such a bad pick for a base model after all. I needed to completely recolor this bad boy. So I started off with brown as the base color, then I did those crazy rows of teeth by using lighter colors at the outer edges and darker, more muted colors at the center. But then I realized that the brown palette looked so wrong, so I switched over to gray colors instead. Which is what I should have done in the first place because the original does have this pale corpse gray type skin. Don't mind the fact that I had to completely redo them out and a lot of the other patterns that I already did before. I started working on the underbelly for this part. I switched to a darker gray, not too much, just enough to give the body more depth. After that, I textured the side, then blended the grays together so it didn't look like I slapped two colors together and called it a day. I could really start to see this thing transitioning into the Demobat. Was I worried about it though? Nah, cause I'm built like that. For the wings of the Demobat, which was the most important part to get right for me, I did something pretty interesting. I completely repurposed the wings of the Ender Dragon. I switched everything over to a gray palette and used darker tones along the wing bones to make them pop, and the lighter grays across the stretched membrane so it looked thin, leathery, and just a little bit more like bat wings. I also added subtle pixel veins and a few uneven patches so the wings felt organic instead of perfectly clean. Throughout this entire process, I had so much fun because it felt like I was painting with pixels, and my model was actually coming together very nicely. I wanted to add some patches so the wing looked torn like this thing has been flying for ages. And you can do that by just simply using your eraser tool. It's similar to what I did for the blood splats for the Demogorgon. The wings were the last piece to the puzzle. The Demobat finally transformed from an Ender Dragon to a fully textured, fully chaotic Demobat with teeth ready to eat some meat, baby. This next creature leveled up the playing field and turned out to be my absolute favorite, but because I hate myself, I decided to do Pennywise's monster form, which is crazy. This one is kind of funny because I got this weird idea to use a spider and Steve combined together as my base model. Let's see how that works out. I had to start with that creepy smile that sends shivers down my spine. Then I went on to his overall face paint because let's be honest, without this extra scare factor, Pennywise would just be some old bald guy in a sewer. I added some extra details to his face and then made his teeth rotten yellow. I went on to texturing his big ass forehead. That thing is huge. It left me wondering, does he store the kids he eats up there? I went on to finish texture painting the head in its entirety, and once I was done with that, I added a cube that will serve as a base for Pennywise's iconic orange hair. I basically laid down the foundation for his hair to make it easier to add the finer details as I go on. Going forward, I needed to get the silhouette right. His hair is mostly poofy at the sides with just a bit at the middle. I made no attempts at making it look realistic. Minecraft hair is all about the silhouette, not the strands, and pretty much adding texture variations like darker and lighter oranges pretty much sold it. I blocked out the rest of the body. Pennywise has that old-timey Renaissance circus outfit going on, so I kept everything a little bulky. A wide collar, slimmer waist, and that classic puffed up clown suit silhouette. Everything was coming together just the way that I wanted it to. Then came the texturing, and honestly, it was a whole puzzle. His outfit isn't just white, it's this dusty off-white, slightly crusty color, because an interdimensional space creature can't seem to morph into clean clothes. I used muted grey and added little darker patches around the seams and folds to give it that old worn fabric look, and it was starting to look like I actually knew what I was doing, because until now I never went this in-depth into pixel painting. It's pretty fun. And the only thing cute about him was those little red pom-poms that I added. Pennywise has an extra pair of arms, and I wasn't about to model another set, so I duplicated the ones I already had. The moment I added the extra pair of limbs was the moment I knew that the easy part was over for me. Because Pennywise monster form in the movies has this weird spider thing going on for him, so for the two lower arms I added these spider-like stumps. I kept them a bit shorter and thinner than the main arms, so they look more like mutated extensions. I didn't just stop there though. The two main arms needed longer legs, so Pennywise could finally shape up to be the monster he really is. I am pretty much using the same texture palettes and techniques to ensure the leg matches the rest of the design. I also had to do the same thing for his back legs. They had a little bit more segments, but after that I just needed to do some additional texturing, duplicate the legs I already had to fully complete his creepy spider farm. After all that work, I was finally finished. Oh my god. And I loved how Pennywise turned out because there were some hardships. Anywho, I've been Lava Wig and you've been great.